Rachel always thought she was the responsible one with money. Every payday, she saved. She skipped unnecessary shopping. She rarely carried credit card debt. And for most of her marriage, she actually saved a higher percentage of her income than her husband, Mark. So when they sat down in their late 50s and looked at their retirement accounts, Rachel expected the numbers to be fairly close. They weren't. Mark had almost twice as much money set aside for retirement. Rachel stared at the screen and asked the obvious question. How is that possible? She had been more careful. She had saved consistently. She had avoided many of the financial mistakes people warn you about. Yet somehow, she was behind. And that is where this story becomes important. Because Rachel's problem wasn't that she failed to save money. Her problem was that saving alone couldn't protect her from 3 financial gaps that had quietly grown for almost 20 years. The first gap started when Rachel was 32. After having their second child, she stepped away from full-time work for 3 years. It felt temporary. Financially, however, those 3 years followed her for decades. Imagine Rachel had been earning $60,000 a year. During her career break, she didn't just lose 3 years of salary. She also lost 3 years of retirement contributions, 3 years of potential employer matching, 3 years of investment growth. And perhaps most importantly, she lost decades of compound growth on the money she never got the chance to invest. Suppose $6,000 per year could have gone into her retirement investments during those 3 years. That is $18,000 of missed contributions. But the real cost wasn't only $18,000. If that money had remained invested for another 25 years, its future value could have been much larger. That's the first lesson. A career gap doesn't only affect what you earn today. It can affect what you own decades later. Then came the second gap. When Rachel returned to work, she worked part-time for several years so she could manage childcare. Her income returned, but her retirement benefits did not return at the same level. Mark, meanwhile, stayed employed full-time. His employer continued contributing to his retirement plan. He kept receiving company matches. Year after year, money was being added to his future before he even spent his paycheck. Rachel was still saving, but much of her savings went into a normal savings account. That leads us to gap number 3. Rachel believed that keeping money safe meant avoiding risk, so she accumulated cash. Mark kept an emergency fund too, but most of the money he didn't need for short-term expenses remained invested in diversified funds inside his retirement account. Over 5 years, that difference didn't look dramatic. Over 20 years, it did. Because there is a major difference between saving money and growing money. A savings account is useful for emergencies, short-term goals, and money you cannot afford to lose. But money intended for retirement may have decades before it is needed. And over long periods, inflation can slowly reduce what cash can buy. Rachel had been disciplined, but her financial system was designed mainly to protect money. Mark's system was also designed to grow it. This is where Rachel changed her strategy. At 43, she stopped asking, "How much money can I save this month?" and started asking, "How much money do I need to build financial independence?" That changed everything. Her first step was creating 3 separate financial buckets. Bucket 1 was her emergency fund. She built enough cash to cover several months of essential expenses. This money stayed accessible. It wasn't there to chase investment returns. It was there to stop an unexpected bill from becoming debt. Bucket 2 was retirement. Rachel increased her retirement contribution and made sure she understood exactly what employer benefits were available to her. Instead of automatically spending every future pay rise, she committed part of each raise to increasing her retirement contributions. Bucket 3 was her independence fund. This was money invested for her own long-term financial security. Not household groceries. Not children's expenses. Not next summer's holiday. Her future. Suppose Rachel brought home $4,000 per month. Instead of waiting until the end of the month to see what was left, she automated her plan immediately after payday. She might direct $400 toward retirement and long-term investing, $250 toward building or maintaining her emergency fund, and another $150 toward a future career break or independence fund. That's $800 intentionally assigned before lifestyle spending takes over. The exact numbers will be different for every woman. The important part is the order. Save for your future before your spending decisions consume your income. Rachel also created what she called a career break plan. If she ever reduced her working hours again, the family wouldn't only calculate the lost salary, they would calculate the lost pension contributions, employer match, benefits, and future investment growth too. That made the real cost visible. Because career breaks aren't automatically bad financial decisions. Sometimes they're necessary. Sometimes they're valuable. Sometimes they're exactly what a family needs. But they should be planned with the full financial cost in view. And this is especially important for women who may spend periods outside full-time employment due to childcare, caregiving, education, relocation, or other responsibilities. The final change Rachel made was simple. Once a year, she held a personal financial review. She checked 5 things: how much she had saved, how much she had invested, how much her retirement account had grown, whether her emergency fund still matched her expenses, and whether her current income was moving her closer to financial independence. Notice what she wasn't doing anymore. She wasn't comparing herself to Mark. She was comparing today's financial position with the future she wanted. Because financial independence isn't about having more money than your husband. It isn't about proving who earns more. And it isn't about becoming obsessed with every dollar. It's about reaching a position where your future doesn't depend entirely on your next paycheck or somebody else's income. Rachel's biggest lesson came 20 years too late to change the beginning of her story, but not too late to change the ending. She learned that saving is only one part of personal finance. You need cash for emergencies. You need investments for long-term growth. You need retirement contributions that continue whenever possible. And if your career slows down, your financial plan needs to adjust with it. So if you're a woman watching this, and you're already good at saving money, ask yourself one more question. Is the money I'm saving actually working toward my future? Because you can be extremely disciplined with money and still fall behind if career gaps, missed retirement benefits, inflation, and lost compound growth are quietly working against you. Don't only build a savings account. Build a system. Protect the present. Invest for the future. Plan for career gaps. And create financial independence that belongs to you. Because 20 years from now, the goal isn't simply to say, I saved money. The goal is to be able to say, my money helped create choices I didn't have before.